Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the FTN Fantasy NFFC live stream. We are here on a Monday night and we're drafting. It's a RotoWire online championship, a 12-team OC, and there's a $250,000 grand prize. And the draft's already started. So here we go. Nelson will be joining us in a couple of minutes. He's doing a primetime NFFC draft, a $1,750 entry, and he is also in the middle of a storm. So he will be joining us here in a few minutes. So I'm on the clock here in the first round. I drew the pick number 9. I'm going to go with my top option on the board, Mr. AJ Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles. So there we go. Averaging 295 fantasy points in the PPR setting here the last couple of years. Bona fide first rounder so long as he stays healthy. So here we go. And of course, all NFC drafts are their third round reversal. So after the end of the second round, the script is flipped, and the last person drafting at the end of the second round. So one gets pick. I'm confused here now. One gets, it's been a while. I'm rusty. It's been baseball season. I'll have franchise here to pop in and bail me out. But here we go. Turn in the corner. Rookie Marvin Harrison goes here, 13th on the board. If I can make the screen bigger, I'm sure y'all would appreciate it. So I'm going to do that. Let's get that board going a little bit, especially if you're watching on your phone. Let's go 175 and let's see everything here popping off. So here I go in the 16th. Some of my best success over the years in this format, in the overall competition, has been in years where I'm grabbing the early running backs, and every year is just, it's a different animal, it's its own thing, and so just kind of taking it 1 year at a time. But man, this is so far working for me just how I want it. Drake London is there for me for the second round. So Nelson, no, not here, not quite here yet. All right. NFC live stream, FTN Fantasy. Here we go. We're in the second round. We'll go through as much of this as we can. Maybe we'll get through the whole draft if y'all around. It's a Monday night, nothing else to do. Let's watch some drafting. We got some absolute sharks in here. I don't have the big sticker up, so you won't see the names of other people popping in. If you are in this draft and you want to be seen or heard, or people to know your picks, go ahead and pop in a comment there in the YouTube and identify yourself. So here we go. And we have a brief pause. Let's see. The draft is paused. I don't know if somebody's asking for their pick back, but let's see here. So currently paused here. Let's look through the first round. I mean, it's pretty standard here. You got CeeDee Lamb off the top. Still has not reported, waiting to get his contract situated. Christian McCaffrey there in the second round. With the second overall pick, a little bit of a minor dust up, but should be good to go. Usually going somewhere between 1 to 3 overall. So a pretty standard top 3. Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall 4 and 5. You usually see those guys in the last week or two of drafts going somewhere between 4 and 7. And then just, those wide receivers off the board, you're typically seeing pretty much in that order. It's pretty chalky up until you get to Puka Nacua, the sophomore there for the Rams. He is picked there at the 11th slot. He was going in that region probably about a month ago. Now you're usually seeing him drafted somewhere around the second round. And we are back in action. Let's see. Nelson, are you with us?
I'm here.
Hey, what's up? Welcome.
How you doing?
Good. I was just telling everybody that you are dealing with a massive storm that hit in the middle of your prime time. You had to go draft in your car because we drafted, through hell and high water, and you still joined the stream. So we appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. I told you that I would try to make it. It's without video, but I'm here.
We appreciate it. And of course, you got to go at any time, duty calls, nature calls. How did your prime time go? Any of it that you don't mind sharing with people?
Yeah, I was drafting from the 9 hole, and I ended up starting the draft with AJ Brown Olave.
Very nice. I assume Drake London was gone at that time, or did you just switch it up a little bit?
No, London was gone. Team 12 took him.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Very nice. You get most of your targets, or you were you getting sniped in this one?
Actually, I thought it went really well for like the first 8 rounds, and then um, I punted my RB2, sort of, and
Mhm.
I like the team, but I definitely think that I'm a little bit weak at RB2. But I ended up taking a bunch of handcuff guys, so should be good. It's a CJ Stroud team with
Mhm.
paired with Diggs. So I ended up
Okay.
getting Diggs in the late fourth round.
That's yeah, that's good. I mean, I've been seeing Diggs go somewhere in the basically the end of the third now these days, between the 30-35 range. Obviously, everything incredibly volatile at this time of the preseason, reacting to starters, like little things. Every single little thing is reactive on the ADP and in the draft board, and we're in the height of draft season. I'm on the clock here, and I've got my two strong ace wide receivers, and so now I've got a couple options here. I guess I could talk through them. Etienne's off the board. Nico Collins probably wasn't going to grab there. I've got about 40 seconds, so I am looking between the two San Francisco wideouts, both of whom I like tremendously. And then there's a rookie wide receiver and also a strong running back. What do you like for this build?
Uh, Either the strong running back or the rookie wide receiver.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Do I usually, when I don't listen to Nelson over the years, and usually has to do with the okay, I got 8 seconds here, so let me just grab somebody. You know what? Let's do this.
I like
Uh,
it.
Isaiah Pacheco. So just to give me some comfort, because as we start to get into the running back dead zone with all your Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones and Kamara's, there's just so many question marks in that range, and I just feel a little bit more comfortable with a running back in top offense that I can trust, and then hopefully I can grab a couple of other receivers here coming up. You know what? The one pick, and I feel like I'm in the minority because just everybody is just absolutely loving him, and he's entering the second round. Is rookie Malik Neighbors? I mean, we know the target volume that's expected. We don't know what to expect from Daniel Jones, but have you been pretty comfortable clicking on him in the second, third round?
Uh, I wouldn't say like super comfortable. I'm really high on the talent, and I think that so I've actually broken this down in my live streams that I've done, and this is how you have to look at it. If you're going to click on Malik Neighbors in the early third round, even second round, okay, you have to look at it as the offensive line is going to be improved, much improved from last year. It was the worst offensive line in the NFL, but they were dealing with injuries and things like that. So I believe that their offensive line is going to be better. And then the other thing is that you believe Daniel Jones can return to somewhat respectable quarterback play from like 2 years ago. Because if you remember when Dable first got to New York, they went on a little run where their
Mhm.
offense was, they were moving the ball, and Daniel Jones was running, and he was actually pretty decent for fantasy for a little stretch. And
Mhm.
then bad offensive line, and he looked like crap last year. Then he got injured, and he hasn't looked the greatest this preseason. But those are the things that you're believing that will
Mhm.
happen. And then Malik Neighbors, at the end of the day, his talent, and he's the whole offense. So he's going to be a target hog. So those are the pros. The cons are offensive line does not improve. Daniel Jones uh, still sucks, and that they just can't get the ball to Neighbors as much as we thought, and it ends up being a disappointing early third, late second round pick. So that's
And the Giants, they'll open at home week 1 against the Vikings, then they go on the road for a couple of, theoretically tough matchups at Washington, at Cleveland, then home again at Dallas, then at Seattle, Cincy, Philly, Pittsburgh. I mean, that's a pretty rough stretch. I think it's similar to something that we saw last year for them before the bye. But yeah, one of the tougher, at least on paper, preseason strengths of schedule. I do think things open up a little bit. And Daniel Jones is essentially not usually even drafted in this format. And in the NFC OCs, a lot of times your sort of QB2s in, your Trevor Lawrence's, Aaron Jones, Kirk Cousins of the world, these guys a lot of times are available like after 150 overall. And of course, the little twist in this format is that passing touchdowns are six points here in this format. The top scorer last year was Josh Allen, I think close to 500 total fantasy points on the year. Holmes behind him. Holmes, Hurts, and his 15 rushing touchdowns. Mahomes, whatnot. So as far as how you've been building, and of course, different from best ball, where you see a lot of the yellow in this case, like off the board very quickly. We know those wide receiver cliffs, they come fast and furiously. I've seen you win a lot of leagues in this format. I've seen you, come close to overall championships, titles. Unfortunately, that one game, the Cincinnati Buffalo game just kept you from getting there. But I've seen a lot of your winning teams built with a strong foundation of wide receivers, where you're not afraid to go 3-4 in your first 5 picks or so. How have you been drafting with respect to that this season?
I have been mixing in the early running backs, so I've got like my fair share of Bijan and Brees Hall, and then I'd probably say that second tier, Taylor, Gibbs, Saquon, I basically have like almost nothing of that because I'm usually taking wide receiver in the second round, and then I'm trying to mix in Pacheco from the third round. That's kind of where he lives. So I'm trying to mix him in as much as possible, but I usually am taking a wide receiver. And then fourth round is basically it's wide receiver or elite quarterback is where I'm going there. And then is where you see like I'll address running back like fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth round. Those are kind of like how I like to build my teams. So for the most part, it's 3-4 wide with a quarterback or a tight end. And then, I try to grab some high upside running backs, but at the same time with an eye on, week 1 and making sure that, I've got playable guys. You're coming up here on the clock. So
yeah, as I'm coming on up here on the clock, I want to actually throw a question out here from someone. And I know you got this one locked down, but can you explain the Drake London hype? Second round feels rich to him. Please explain.
yeah, so we haven't seen it yet, so that's why it feels rich because, Drake London's been tied to very poor quarterback play and bad coaching. So, that's why, London, out of those guys that have been, are up there going in the second round, like or late first round, they've all have a decent resume, or they've at least put 1 year together of a really good year, except for Marvin Harrison, he's a rookie. So with Drake London this year, you're looking at it. You just got to believe. So you're betting on the come. So essentially, you're not waiting a year to see it happen. you're saying Kirk Cousins is a huge upgrade from Desmond Ritter and Marcus Mariota. Uh, when they and Taylor Heineke and whoever else they had, and you're saying that Zach Robinson is a huge upgrade coming from the Rams coaching tree with McVay, and that he's a huge upgrade from Arthur Smith and his, running back by committee, not really worried about feeding his number one receiver. He could care less. He's going to play, backup tight end in the red zone, get him the touchdown.
Mhm.
So if you believe in that, then London, where he's going, that's where he belongs, because you're looking at it as he's set up for that type of year. And Kirk Cousins, from his time in Minnesota, you can see that he's been able to support an alpha wide receiver one.
All right, here we go. That's a great answer there. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely on the London train to London town. I'm on the clock here. I've got three wide receivers. I'll talk about my third one here in a bit. So I essentially am looking at. I do not love the running backs here. I'm willing to wait. There's really only one quarterback option. I think I'm going to pass. Let me make this pick, and then you tell me what you think about it. If this was the right move, Dalton Kincaid is where I believe the Bills' offense runs through this season.
Okay, I like it. I mean, that's where he's going in the draft. And again, you look at Diggs and Gabe Davis are gone, and how are they going to move the ball on offense? And if you think that Curtis Samuel, Shakir, and Keon Coleman are not ready to, or are not demanding of wide receiver one type of targets, then yeah, Cade is the logical choice. That he's going to be fed a bunch of targets this year. And
Mm-hmm.
fifth round, he could approach numbers similar to what Laporta and put up last year,
Mm-hmm.
and even like Kelsey type numbers. I mean, that's I think he's got that type of upside. I think he's that talented.
I'm joined by Nelson Sousa, arguably, and some may not even argue it, the best high stakes fantasy football player around. 20 plus years of doing this, drafting around the clock these days, live streaming, like just an absolute animal. And he is joining us here with a storm. And that's why, Storm shut down the internet. He's on his phone and he's with us today, running through the play by play of this draft and providing some analysis here. I'm Vlad Sedler. This is the FTN Fantasy live draft, live stream of the NFFC Online Championship, 12-teamer, $250,000 grand prize. And we're through round 5. We'll take you as long as we possibly can until the next storm comes through. Tank Dell, honestly, I like Amari Cooper, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, McLaurin. There's a lot to like in that range, but I'm kind of going there with a little bit. I like those murky situations where sometimes you feel like talent can win out. I mean, there's no debating the huge step Nico Collins took last year and him, truly stepping up, becoming an alpha there. But then you've got Diggs and some of the sassiness and the things that went on with him last year in Buffalo. And then Tank Dell was just insane, explosive last year. So I don't know. I think there are going to be some floor weeks for sure with him. And obviously you hope he stays healthy, but for an overall type build where I'm shooting for 250,000, Tank Dell just kind of felt like a good pick for me there.
Yeah, I mean, he's the cheapest out of the guys there between Nico and Diggs. Um, but it's so tough because I think really what matters is I don't think he can have a monster season without an injury
Yep.
to Nico or Diggs. So I think we can agree there.
Yep.
But when you're trying to win an overall title, he is plenty capable in the shootout in those 3 weeks to be able to put up that monster week that makes a difference for your team. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really what you're looking for. Is you got to ask yourself that question: is when you take that receiver, is he capable of like almost single-handedly winning a week for you? And
Mhm.
Dell has that potential.
We've got 4 quarterbacks off the board. Actually, Jalen Hurts would have paired real nicely. I absolutely would have taken him in that spot there if he had fallen to the fourth, where I took Tank Dell. Instead, he goes in the middle of the third round. And then, of course, Mahomes, Josh Allen off the board. Mahomes is the first quarterback off the board. We usually see Josh Allen. And then CJ Stroud before Lamar Jackson. Tell me how crazy this is. In my OC a few days ago, and it was actually my first one. This is my latest start ever. Usually I've got 10 plus teams at this point, but baseball season, staying busy here, but I'm in the mix. I'm in the zone, not quite locked in as you. But on a gut feel, I went Anthony Richardson over Lamar Jackson. And I don't, it might be a little crazy, but I don't know. And the best part is always is that you speak the truth. You tell me if you don't like something. I love to hear it because I learned from it.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously Lamar goes before Richardson, but you know me, I don't care about that. I don't care about ADP. It's whether you believe in a player or not. So I have no problem skipping over Lamar. I think Anthony Richardson has plenty of upside. So, I can't really fault you for doing that. That's it. It's your opinion. Um, I'm not even going to say that I wouldn't do it myself. Now, if you took Richardson and you told me like Hertz and Mahomes were like on the board, then I'd probably tell you that I think you made a mistake. But I can't say that Richardson's not going to have a better year than Lamar.
And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit pushed by the fact that I had Michael Pittman on the team. I know that's, I guess that's more style points. It's not necessarily the best way to build. Obviously, stacks are nice, but it's not a must. But do you find yourself in that situation a lot where you have, an elite receiver and you just kind of want to pair them with their quarterback, or how does that play out for you as you draft?
Yeah, absolutely it does. I won't go out of my way. So I'm not going to push a quarterback like way up. Like I'll give you an example. So Team 11 took Stroud there to pair with Nico, and he took him in the fourth round. In my
Mm.
prime time tonight, I got Stroud to pair with Diggs, and I got Stroud in the sixth round.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
I'll definitely look at it, and I favor a stack over not having a stack, but I'm not going to go way out of my way with that.
So I'm coming up here. This will be my sixth pick. I've got 3 wideouts. I've got Isaiah Pacheco as my starting running back and Dalton Kincaid uh, there as my tight end. So again, if I take a quarterback here, unless it's Jordan Love, where this is around his ADP, maybe it's Burrow's his ADP, I'm still kind of forcing it. And I know the way that we've played over the years is we kind of let the quarterback values come to us, unless you're getting one of the top guys. So I don't know if I would force it here. And then the other thing is the wide receivers. I mean, am I worried about in terms of Christian Kirk? Am I worried about the calf injury he has right now? Am I worried about Brian Thomas and what he might turn into over there, and just the offense there? Or do I kind of dabble here with one of these running backs, one of these older dudes, James Conner, David Montgomery? Montgomery doesn't really catch passes. Conner's got injury history. And then DeAndre Swift. What would you do in my position?
Uh, I think the play is the receiver.
And Kirk's gone, by the way. So, all
Yeah.
right. So I'm looking at.
I think there's another two guys there.
Okay.
I mean I don't have I have the board up, so I can kind of guess who the receivers are. So there's
Hmm.
definitely two guys that I would take here.
Let me see. I did a little map out sheet before here in the 6th round. So this was my range for, let me see. So we're looking at Deontay Johnson's a little banged up. Um, Christian Watson, it's pretty crowded there. JSN is an option here. All right. I might have you make my pick for me as I'm on the clock, or at least give me your
Take
preference.
take Watson and see if you can come back with Love.
All right. Hopefully no one else in this draft is watching this show.
Uh,
Uh, that's one of the, 2 seasons ago, his big rookie year. Again, my football audience isn't huge. I think people kind of know me more as a baseball guy, but I did write a column about Christian Watson his rookie season when he was hurt in the preseason. Right after he was drafted, his stock was down. Everybody's hyping up Romeo Dubs, and I made a bold prediction that Christian Watson was going to, basically score more fantasy points than him that season. Obviously, had the big second half, and then we all bought in at a lower price point the following year. And then obviously he's doing some like leg strengthening things or just like some more balancing. What is it exactly? I sound like a noob right
he
now.
went to the University of Wisconsin, and he worked with like some professors and students there, and kind of figured out what was going on. So that it was basically like his legs were unbalanced. So, basically like one was like way stronger or way bigger than the other, and that was what they feel was the root problem of what was causing those hamstring injuries. So he in his interview this offseason, he felt like he's got that figured out.
Mm,
And to me, I look at it as like that dude's already shown you, he's put games together where he's shown you that he can be a difference maker. So that's why, like, I don't mind clicking on him as my wide receiver four, and just taking the shot on the upside. And then naturally it works because like now Love you can take here in the seventh round, and now you got a nice stack, a nice
mm.
piece of that Green Bay offense.
Excellent. It worked out. So they either left them for me or they're just drafting and not watching the show. So there it is. My first Jordan Love share of the season, the big monster contract. Man who stepped in and was incredible last season. And man, I can already foresee myself struggling at times with like my flex or my wide receiver 3 decision week to week, trying to play matchups and just like mistiming it between Tank Dell and Christian Watson. I know the one thing is I try not to do is chase last week's box scores, right? I mean, it's that's a whole different game in itself is setting the weekly matchups.
Yep.
All right, here we are, round 7. Looking at the board, can you let me know any teams that stand out to you and what you like?
Let's see teams that I like. Um, I like what Team One's done. Those are all players that I like, so that's always a good thing from my biased opinion.
Mhm.
And I like the structure of the team. Let's see here.
What do you think about Team 7 with the 4 running backs
Yeah,
in the first
well,
seven?
you told me to look at teams that I liked,
Okay, sorry.
so I I was I was trying to overlook Team Seven. Yeah,
All right.
that's he's got some good players on the team, but that's just not my preference on
Mm.
how to build a team.
Yeah, what was it? I'm going to sound like in band camp, but I remember a big run I had when I almost won this overall. Came in fourth that year. It was like 2017, I think, and it was. I had 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds, so it was like I forgot it was like Le'Veon Bell or Zeke in his rookie year, something like that. With maybe it was 2018. Then with like David Johnson in the second round, that he was like way past his ADP, and happened to be in the 2 days where maybe he was dinged up. Turns out he was fine. And then it was Melvin Gordon's big breakout year, and I got him in the 4th. He was a little bit discounted in his sophomore year, and I never had to take out um, Melvin Gordon from my flex spot. I just had those 3 guys rolling all season long. I think I got like T.Y. Hilton was the wide receiver 1 that year, and I got him in the 3rd round. And then what did me in and why I didn't win the overall, and I'm sorry if you heard the story before, it was like the Adam Thielen playoff game. And I couldn't decide between him and Deshaun Jackson. And that was a game where Adam Thielen scored like 52 fantasy points. and would have done it for me. But I didn't play him. I had him on the bench. Deshaun gave me like a 16, and so I didn't get there. So the sweats of the playoffs.
Yeah, yep. I want to say it was 2017 because when you mentioned Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, that was the year that I actually uh, won main event, and I had those guys on my team.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and if the prime time, that's right.
No,
Or-
FFPC main event.
oh, that main event. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, yep. So it was David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. Those guys were like monsters. They had a big year that year.
All right, here we go. Turning the corner, 7th round into the 8th. Um, where are you with clicking on that mid range of tight ends between George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram? You hate to be swayed by something, but just like watching the Netflix show Receiver just like makes you want to draft George Kittle, and then you remember how frequently he gets dinged up. Uh, and then Evan Ingram, man, like I just was looking back at his numbers last season, just like the amount of targets and balls he caught, just a PPR monster. Obviously, still be a focal point of that offense. And then Kyle Pitts is the every season enigma. Is this we talked about London earlier, but how do things change here for Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think with
Nobody knows.
no one knows.
No one
Uh,
knows.
I like put it this way, Kyle Pitts. I'm probably just not going to have any Kyle Pitts this year because I either like the tight ends ahead of him or I like a couple of tight ends after him. So
Mhm.
he's getting drafted kind of like in no man's land. It's not where I'm looking for a tight end at that point in my draft. And then Kittle's a little bit of the same. I think he's super solid. And then if like Ayuk uh, does get traded, I think that really helps Kittle with a bump up in targets. But
Mhm.
again, it's just that they're going in a spot where um, it doesn't work for me for how I like to put my team together.
By the way, that if Ayuk does get dealt and a wide receiver doesn't come back, I mean it's kind of messy there beyond. I mean, say even for whatever reason, McCaffrey isn't ready to start the year, and then you've got Juwan Jennings is dealing with an oblique injury. You've got Debo always seems to have some sort of issue. Obviously, the talent is unquestionable, and then the rookie Ricky Pearsall looks like he could be good to go, but I don't think they want to rely on him kind of off the bat dealing with a shoulder issue. So yeah, they need to get this done with Ayuk pretty quickly. All right, I'm on the board, and dude, I'm really liking the ways this is shaping up to me. There's some rooms where I just can't catch a break. I can't get anyone, but on my draft list, I'm actually here in. Oh no, dude, I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. I was like guaranteed one of Pollard or Chase Brown. They're both gone. So,
Yeah, they just
dude, I'm
went.
stuck now. Yeah. All right. 30 seconds on the clock. I can grab another receiver. I don't need a tight end. I have a QB. So I got to grab a running back. I mean, do I just
Who's
go for it with Zamir?
you got? No Zamir, no Zamir. Tajay Spears is there, right?
Yeah.
Brian Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Tho-
Eckler. I actually don't mind.
yeah,
You know what? Let's go with Spears. Only got 6 seconds left. Got to make quick decisions. I trust you on the Zamir thing. It makes sense. Um,
it's
just
just it's just a bad spot, man. He's going to be part of a committee, in my opinion. He doesn't really catch the ball. I don't think he's going to be in on passing downs. Um, yeah, I just don't think like he's going to end up being a good pick.
it's so funny. I'm sitting here talking to you, and because my screen, because I magnified the screen, um, and so I'm not seeing the guys that scrolled past. I'm like, are you kidding me? They're just leaving me one at Chase Brown or Tony Pollard here, and then I scroll down a little. Ah, shoot, they're both gone. So that's what I get for bragging, opening my big mouth. All right, Zamir goes right after, and Jake Ferguson feels like somebody who isn't really like talked a lot about. And if you think about how things might open up the season for them, if for whatever reason CD Lamb doesn't work things out off the bat, Brandon Cooks is dinged up. You've got I mean, you've got, Zeke is back there, Rico Dowdle. We've seen this before where like, a team can't get in sync preseason and just kind of get off to a bad start. You can't just, things aren't just going to fire up right away. And so maybe somebody like Jake Ferguson's just going to start seeing a bit more targets, but he's kind of not talked about and kind of in no man's land with his ADP.
Yeah, he's the unsexy but like really solid pick.
All right, let's see. All right, I'm coming up here in 4. I will blow up the screen again after I make my pick. So apologies. No reason to grab a quarterback. I think you probably agree with me there.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no QB, no tight end. It's
it's running
it's
back risk.
either yeah, it's probably running back. Let me look here.
Hamstring with Jalen Warren is a bummer because I did like him. I'm not afraid of Eckler. I think he was a little dinged up last year. You may not be a fan, but he's interesting to me. Blake Corum is as well. Oh, I got my guy. I know who it is. He was on my list I sent you earlier. He's stepping in because their primary running back may not be ready, if you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yep.
You like that pick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I love
Yeah,
Jerome
he's not
Ford.
coming back. So,
No.
yeah.
All right. Jerome Ford it is. And so now I feel a little bit more comfortable here. I don't have just like a straight up plug and play with my RB2, maybe making some tough decisions week to week, but I don't mind it. Cleveland kicks off the season against Dallas, and Ford will most likely be the starting guy there. Tennessee starts the season off against the Bears in Chicago. So, I mean, unless something changes in Tennessee and if Pollard gets hurt again, I probably would start Ford in that matchup. But hey, listen, a little too early to be talking matchups right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you do this type of build, and I know, or I don't know, but I think you're usually more comfortable securing your RB2 a little earlier. Um, but
Yeah.
I want to get you out of your shell
Mm-hmm.
and get you more comfortable in just getting the four wides with the elite tight end, good quarterback play, and basically punting your RB2, and then piecing it together. And it doesn't need to be figured out week one. So
Mm-hmm.
you just got to look at it as you just got to have somebody playable for right now in your RB2 spot, and then see how things shake out. So whether things work out with one of the running backs that you drafted, a handcuff type guy or whatever, due to injury, or you work the waiver wire and you find your guy that you can, play there at RB2, throughout the season. And then what matters is, how you finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the one thing that, and a lot of people do this, right? They get that warm fuzzy feeling about just having like two solid running backs, and you just feel better about your
Mm-hmm.
lineup. But I think it's okay to get out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
and draft it that way.
Totally. Yeah, it's not. So you're telling me I can't live in 2017 anymore? Okay, I got it. All right, time to move on. Time to grow up, Vlad. I get it.
Yeah, listen, we're boomers, but we don't have to draft like boomers.
That's right. That's right. And another thing that is crazy sometimes you see is like the aesthetics. Like people need to like, color the board in a certain way or things like that. Like, forget all that stuff. Think about, roster construction, not taking unnecessary risks, and kind of, Gretzky like going to where the puck is going, um, as opposed to where it's already been. All right. Enough enough dadisms for me. Let's go back to this draft board here. What is this? Brock Bowers is banged up now. This is from a couple days ago. Didn't play in the preseason game with a foot. Tweaked something at practice. Does that affect your?
Yeah. Uh, well, right now, I mean, it could be something, it could be nothing, but I'm buying the discount.
Team 4, they are loading up on. This is it's a bit of a different build. You start off with the 2 running backs, and then he's loading up on the rookies now. So between Xavier Worthy, this is team 4, Xavier Worthy, Vlad McConkey, and Keon Coleman, plus second-year guy Jalen Reed. That's an interesting build as well.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't mind the build. I think he got a discount on Walker, because I'm probably taking Walker then the 5th round, then Worthy, but he flip flopped it and it worked. So yeah, the only thing is when you go this deep at running back and receiver, and you're pushing QB and tight end back, um, you're going to have to stream it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that also you run the risk of, with tight ends, like on paper it seems like tight end is deep and there's a lot of options, but it's not. Like
Mm-hmm.
once the games start on Sunday, you feel pretty good about putting a certain tight end in your lineup, and then he goes like 1 for 3 yards or
Yep.
whatever, and you're just like, what the heck? So, and then you realize you have real problems. So I tend to, I do believe in having like good tight end play, in meaning it's a tight end that is part of his like every week offense, right? That
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna see he's gonna see regular targets, right?
He's Nelson Sousa at the franchise 12 underscore 12, right?
Underscore 12.
And
Yeah.
underscore 12. I'm Vlad Sedler at RotoGut. FTN Fantasy Football season is here. Season is upon us. It's coming up. If you haven't already, just subscribe. The stats that our new stats hub is absolutely out of this world. Everything, all of our content, DVOA with Aaron Schatz, Jeff Ratcliffe. You get the high stakes package if you want with Nelson Sousa. I mean, if you're going that level, you might as well get the little extra step there. Then his Discord is popping. He's pretty much there like 24/7. Doesn't sleep. Shares lots of good information, so highly recommend you check it out. So we are drafting. I'm drafting. Nelson is in between drafts, and probably has another one tonight. An NFFC online championship. It's a $350 entry. There's a $250,000 grand prize. It pays league prizes for first and second place. It's PPR, 6 points for passing touchdowns. Everything else is the same. And then there's the third round reversal flip there after the second and third round. So here we are. A lot of people with us, which is very cool. Very nice to see on a Monday night. What else is there to do? If you're not drafting, you're watching a draft. Oh, shoot. I'm on the clock. I better get to it. All right. What do you got? What do we got here, Nelson? Let's see. I'm not grabbing another running back, although there is one dude that stands out. It's wide receiver time. It's absolutely wide receiver time. Do I go with the other guy to grab with my stack, or is that just a bit early, or
No,
just
no,
it's too early?
that was a good thought. Yeah. No, no, no. I like it.
You do? Do you like it over the
No, it's not.
Minnesota
I'm
guy?
saying no, it's not early.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, it's that or the Minnesota guy who's currently banged up. All right, let's go for it. Let's go. We got a fun little team here. Tavian Wicks. There it is. That's my wide receiver 5. Last season in limited time, he caught nearly 40 balls for almost 600 yards, 4 touchdowns on the season. So now I've got a little double stack action, I guess you can call it. Technically, this is a stack, I think.
Yeah. The other thing that I've talked about on my live streams is once you get to like the 10th round and beyond, uh, I, who cares about ADP? Who cares about like, oh, this looks a little early for this guy. You just got to take whoever you think complements your team, right? Whatever guy makes sense. So like, I think you just got to throw it out the window and just take the guys that
Yep.
that you want.
And also in these contests, we're playing a lot of times with people that are they're in these draft rooms a lot, and you start to gain understanding for other people's tendencies and players they like. And it's some sort of a game of chicken sometimes too, like knowing if there's somebody you really want. At that point, you're just kind of throwing ADP out the window and grabbing your guy, even if it makes even if it means at this point in the draft grabbing them like 2 rounds ahead of ADP. All right, so I'm coming back on the clock. Obviously not taking a team kicker, not taking a defense. I'm not ready for my backup quarterback. There's really no reason to do that. Also, just kind of there will be quarterbacks available later. So I'll either be going with another running back or my 6th receiver. If I go receiver, I'll probably be able to back off a little bit, I think. Let me see. I'm going to take a quick look at my original draft plan in the 11th round. And of course, most of those guys are taken. Dowdle.
Did you say Minnesota receiver? Are you talking about Addison?
Yeah.
He's still there?
He is still there.
I would
Avoided major injury. Yeah. Oh, I'm up. Oh, perfect. And I got a free Addison. All right, sweet. His ADP in the online championships, just over the last 3 days, they have been almost 20 drafts, and he's got an ADP of 98. So I just took him at 124 as my 6th receiver. That's pretty solid. You can almost flip flop. You can almost say that Wicks is my 6th receiver, Addison my 5th.
What's the min on Wicks? Do you have that?
Yes, it's 101.
Okay.
So I wasn't even the min. And that's just the last 3 days of drafts.
Yeah, he's moved way up. People, it's crowded, but the reason why you're taking Wicks is because you see his playmaking ability, you like the offense, and you're looking at it as like, hey, if there's an injury and he gets regular snaps, we could have something there.
Yeah, and his min pick in August in almost 100 NFC online championship drafts, his min is 87. So 87 on the min, 156 on the max. That's all right. Cool. All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's get through. We will probably go through round 15. So before, I have to spare you with the team kickers and whatnot. But by the way, Cairo Santos, big fan of him this year. Just FYI, I know a lot of people don't like kickers, but it is a necessary part of some formats, and it is in this game here. So, but we won't bother you with that now. What sort of things am I looking to prioritize here on Team 9 at this point, 4th?
You're gonna paint it green for a little bit. You got to build up the depth now at running back. You're fine at wide receiver. I wouldn't take another wide receiver until really late. So focus at running back. I don't mind getting a tight end to back up Kincaid, but again, don't force it, because now that Taysom's off the board, there's really no one there. I don't think that like you have to have. There's maybe one more guy that I think is pretty decent, that if he comes back. But other than that, you're going to take a backup QB that pairs well with Love. So you want to take a look at that. And then, your kicker defense, it depends on, do you like the elite defenses? Do you like streaming defense? You don't care, wait till the last pick. So that's really, preference. But that's pretty much how I would go about it.
I'm getting a little snobby here because I have some strong opinions about some of these later round quarterbacks, and some of them don't even have like nothing's really fact based. Like for example, Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, earmuffs. You're a big fan. It has nothing to do with him personally. I just feel like he's kind of cursed this year. I feel like I apologize, Jets fans, if you're logging off right now. I'm just something about it. I'm just not feeling it. My gut's been right a lot before. It's been wrong a lot. So who the heck knows? Justin Herbert, I am just not interested in this season in that offense. Not to mention he's also dealing with plantar fasciitis. I guess not that big of a deal. And then I guess Deshaun Watson, I'm okay with. With no Chubb there, I expect a lot more, pass volume. They obviously operate, at a pretty fast pace there. But yeah, it's starting to get kind of a dead zone there with the quarterbacks, and I think I can wait. I agree with you though. It's time to paint it green. By painting green meaning I'm going to take some running backs here. And I got a few targets. Let's see here. We got some rookies coming up here in about 5 picks. I'm sure some of y'all have your favorite. Let's see. Prop God. By the way, Prop God on our FTN baseball is absolutely slaying it. And today he just hit his Corey Seager. We're not going to go without a little baseball here, but he hit his Corey Seager futures bet for over home runs for the season, over 26 home runs. So he won that bet tonight. Prop God is absolutely crushing it over there on the baseball. But back to football. I'm Vlad Sedler here with Nelson Sousa, braving it through the storm. That's why he's not on camera today. And he is helping me break down this live stream NFC draft here for FTN Fantasy. I'm a couple of picks up. About these running backs, Ty Chandler is somebody I'm very interested in. Unfortunately, some positive coach speak came out about him today. And so, but that's usually round 12. That's around where he goes. There's the Jets backup or rookie. There's the Bills rookie. There are a couple interesting guys there. Chuba Hubbard. He's cleared for practice. I guess he's kind of more of a depth pick, not necessarily, sexy or anything, but he shockingly almost had 1,000 yards rushing last season. Any thoughts on him or those rookies?
Well,
I know who you want.
Yeah,
I know who you want me to take, or who you would take. Does it, if I told you it rhymes with Eleanor Rigsby, would you agree with me? Or is
you talking about Bigsby?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or is it too early?
I think you can wait on him, but again, it depends on what running back is available besides him.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So who's available?
I'm looking at Ray Davis. I'm looking at Braylon Allen, who I like quite a bit, and Bucky Irving is there in the mix. Chuba Hubbard.
Davis.
What's that?
Davis or Hubbard? I would take Chuba or Davis.
Davis. All right, let's go with Ray Davis. That's not a bad. That's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running back 5, and obviously, everyone's just an injury away, and obviously that's the case with him. No Latavius Murray to vulture the goal line carries. So, James Cook isn't. It's not James Cook or Josh Allen. It'll be Dalton Kincaid grabbing those quick passes. But other than that, Ray Davis has an opportunity here. That's what this area is about, right? These late round guys, you just you add them all up, grab them to the back end of your roster. Thankfully in NFFC, you have 10 starting spots and then 10 bench spots. So it's a pretty deep bench. And then the game is to not have enough injuries where you're at a place where you might be tempted to drop them. Cause what happens, right? Like week 4 comes along, James Cook is just crushing it, 4 straight 100-yard games, whatever it is, 25 plus fantasy points. And then you're like, okay, I'm comfortable to drop Ray Davis. He's not really getting much action. And then boom, you drop him and then he goes off. All right. I'm back on the clock. Let's see. No wide. There's a couple of wide receivers that stick out. They're younger guys. What about Likely? Do you like Isaiah Likely here for me, or would you go with another running back?
No, I'd go another running back.
Okay.
You want to take a couple of these like young guys that they need something to happen in order to get playing time, but
yeah,
you want to take guys with some upside. So it dries up. So and you're fine at wide receiver at this point.
I took Tank Bigsby. He's got a little bit of experience there. Obviously, big opportunity if something happens again. Something happens to Travis Etienne. But yeah, I mean, we're just kind of hoping for the best in this area. Obviously, Kimani Vidal, the rookie for the Chargers, I feel like he's gaining some helium over the last few days. Jordan Mason was because there was looked like an opportunity for him to win the number 2 job ahead of Elijah Mitchell. He's now dealing with some hip soreness, just as of a couple of days ago. So probably expect his ADP to drop a little bit. So yeah. There we go. There's Braylon Allen off the board.
Yeah, went to the Brees Hall owner. Um, you know what? Just looking at that style of how he's putting together that team, I bet I know who Team 5 is.
Yeah, you can tell. That's the
Yeah,
6
yeah,
straight receivers.
yeah. I can tell I've drafted with him a decent
Oh,
amount.
yes. Like unless he wants to come, forward. Yes. He is somebody that's had a lot of success in this format. So yeah, that's pretty astute being able to just like know who someone is, who's the person behind the draft just by looking at the draft board. So and it is a pretty
Yeah,
nice
no,
team.
I'm not going to divulge names, but I
Yeah.
can, you draft against someone long enough, you kind of you can figure out their teams.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a really nice team, and I wish them much luck fighting for second place behind my banger of a squad there, Team 9. So
Yes,
let's go.
sir.
All right. I know it's late. It's getting late. We're probably going to wrap things up here in a little bit. We will just get through the end of round 15 and call it a show. Nelson, thank you so much for coming on. By the way, what is your and I'm almost afraid to ask, in general, what's your schedule like the next 2 weeks with drafting and FTN high stakes stuff?
Yeah, so let's see. Schedule is basically a draft every night. Um, Probably doing a main event. I think I'm scheduled for a main event every night, at least one. And then I'm probably going to mix in a few more of these 350s.
Hmm.
And then over at FTN, it's just, every day, just constantly updating rankings with injury news and anything that comes up, answering questions in the Discord chat. So, yeah, pretty busy this time of year.
And Nelson's fade list is it's something that I've tried fading the fade list, and I mean, of course, no one's going to be 100% correct on everything, but long before we were both even at FTN, before FTN even existed, Nelson had his fade list before, and it was, obviously not a lot of people had access to it. But it's just something that I look forward to every year, and it's something that he continues to update throughout the preseason. And there's just a lot of things in there that make you go, and then when they come to fruition, you're like, okay, that makes sense. And sometimes your reasoning is just very like firm. And the few times I've tested it, it's kind of it kind of worked against me. So we'll see how that goes this year. But yeah, FTN high stakes package is the one you want to get full access to Nelson's content. You've also done a couple other things there for just like over the last couple of weeks, like your kind of favorite players per position, right? Or per round, was it?
Per round targets, yeah. So I just list, the players that I like that I'm kind of targeting. Doesn't mean that if a player's not on the list that I don't, you gotta kind of cross reference with my fade list. But
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't, mention a player on my target doesn't mean that I won't take him in the draft. But yeah, I have my target list. I have my article of this year's Rashad White. So basically, um, I I go through the process of trying to figure out, like last year, for example, I had this year's Josh Jacobs. So
Mm-hmm.
the profile was basically a running back that is going in the mid rounds, kind of like round 5 through 8, let's say, because that's where Josh Jacobs was going the year that he broke out 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's got to fit the profile, right? So it's got to be a running back that's capable of catching passes, that you could see an avenue to 50 plus catches on the season. And I had, I'll try to find at least two guys that fit that profile. Last year I had three guys that fit that profile. One of them was Rashad White. So, I had I got one of them right.
Hmm.
And then this year, I labeled three guys that I think could be this year's Rashad White, which is a running back that's not going in the first few rounds, that could be a difference maker on your team. So
All right, I'm on the
go ahead,
clock
go ahead.
here, and yeah,
Yeah,
I got busted. I was going to take Dallas defense, but I'm down to 15 points. I'm not going to force a defense here. Just looking at some of the matchups, tight ends, nobody stands out. I think I'm just going to pop Kirk Cousins here.
yeah, yeah. Go with London.
Yep.
That works.
Yep. And also something like this, by the way. So I took what I think is the best quarterback on the board, and I mean, even if they did have the same bye week, it's not something I'm worried about, especially if it's like around, it's a bye week 10, 12, like so much can happen by then. At some point, maybe you even pick up a third quarterback, or, you drop someone. Would you agree in that sense?
Yeah, because I mean, if there's two schools of thought. You can draft the quarterback based off of a great matchup during your starters bye week, but at the same time, you don't know. Like, there could be an injury, and like the last couple of years, there's been a lot of injuries to quarterbacks.
Mhm.
So your quarterback goes down, you just want to have a guy that is just good, right? So you don't want to sit there and be like, oh, that I'm just going to wait on this QB because he fits perfectly into my starters bye week, and that's
Mhm.
all the only reason why you're drafting him. It, so no, I think you
Yeah.
just draft a good quarterback, part of a good offense, and that's it.
All right. I mean, I do like to play the defenses and stream week to week. I like to usually have like a stable defense, but every point matters. I'm trying to squeeze things out. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to predict exactly what's going on, but maybe the Browns at home against Dallas, and if they're not, gelling at that point, maybe that isn't the worst matchup in the world. For Browns are pretty good defense. Pittsburgh gets at Atlanta week 1. I don't love it. The thing I do like about Pittsburgh is after that, they'll get Denver, the Chargers, and the Raiders in 3 of the following 5 weeks. So I like Pittsburgh as a post week 1 play. But either way, this shouldn't be talking defense here. I'm going to either grab best tight end on the board or Jalen Poke. So that's where I'm at now. The best tight ends on the board. If you want to help me out here, I don't know if I'd called Kate Otten one of those. Tyler Conklin. Maybe Rogers loves them. I don't know. Jonnu Smith, I always like. I got 10 seconds if you got somebody for me.
Yeah. No, I would take Polk.
Perfect. Done. All right. We will get through the end of this round. So yeah, so there it is. Any last minute thoughts here? This is 3/4 of my team. What do you think about it? Where are the holes, and what maybe you would have done differently?
Um, at at this point, like, the only tight ends that I like at this point is like Noah Fant, and that's probably it. Um, shit, I would wait till the 20th round and just take Dawson Knox, and
There it is.
and just handcuff your tight end. How about that? You,
That works.
you know,
I don't mind it.
Andrews and Likely are like a good combo. You see that often in drafts,
Mhm.
but the other one that I think works, like if Kincaid went down, Dawson Knox would be pretty good in the offense by himself.
That's true. That's true. I will say, Juwan Johnson is always tempting to me. I know he had a little minor foot procedure. Um, and I don't think there are a lot of like massive targets beyond Olave, Kamara, Taysom Hill there. So I wouldn't even mind waiting on him for a couple of weeks if I get Kincaid early. Chig, Okonkwo, just, never know with that guy. It was obviously a huge target last year. Had a pretty high ADP. He was in the, top 150 or so at some point, and ended up just with one touchdown last year. And then, you know what? I always like Jelani Woods, but again, he's dinged up, and they have like three tight ends there where, Granson is kind of coming up, and then you've got, Mo Alley Cox is always, he's a good blocker, so he's always in the mix. So I don't know. We're just getting into the weeds here instead of, let's end things here. Any final thoughts about this board, the draft, or just any tips you can give anybody?
Yeah, make sure you're going to take at least two more running backs. So find two guys, queue them up. But I think you want to take as many shots as possible on like handcuff guys, because I call them like dart throws. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like, when you build a team like this and you structure it like this, where either you go zero running back, and in this case, you kind of, you push the RB2 back, you want to take a bunch of guys because you want to leave yourself opportunities to hit on a guy. Wouldn't take another receiver. 7 is plenty
Mm-hmm.
on this team.
Yeah. Because it's not best ball. It's unnecessary. By the way, both of us will have our fab columns as we have the last couple seasons. Mine will be part of the standard package. You got it to get Nelson's access. You can have to get the high stakes package, but you'll have two sets of reference points for free agency. So if you do waivers, or if you have the leagues like these with the national competitions that have the $1,000 free agent budget for the course of the season, we'll help guide you with percentage ranges, priority orders, all that stuff. I mean, I think that in itself is enough reason to join us for sure. So two more. I don't know, since we're almost there, do you want to just go like right around this corner right here with me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, cool. Appreciate it. Nelson Sousa, everybody follow him at the franchise _12. You probably already do. One of the best there is. Bateman, Rashad Bateman. I know I'm not taking any more receivers. I know, I understand, but I can't quit this dude. And now, I hate the term, he's free. He's basically free. I mean, it is kind of true at this point in the draft, like late round picks. But will it ever happen? He's only 24.
So with Bateman, it's so tough because I did like him coming out of college, and it hasn't happened for him. Um, we're running out of time for him to break out, you know.
Yep.
So, but you know what I do like too, though, is I do like targeting him uh, late in drafts, even though, like, for this team, listen, you could take him. It is what it is.
Mhm.
And then maybe you just, go naked at tight end, because I do think you should take a couple of running backs, and then you got to fill out kicker defense. But
Mhm.
with Bateman, what's nice is you get a free look with him. And I don't know if
Oh
people
yeah.
are already playing that strategy just yet. Usually what I like to do is, once we start getting through the third preseason game and we start seeing cuts and moves being made, that's when we it cleans up the second half, the last part of the draft, where you're taking
Mhm.
all these handcuff running backs, you're taking all these like fringe guys, and you realize like they're without a job, they're going to a practice squad, and you're like, oh, okay, this guy has no value. So that gets cleaned up, and then those drafts and beyond, till we get to week 1, what I do is I look at that Thursday game, and now we have a Friday game with the Eagles Packers, and
Mhm.
I look for guys that go kind of like in this territory, and I just put them on my roster, because
Yep.
just in case, like, they put up, 18 points, let's say, like, that's kind of, I'm putting them in my lineup somehow. I'm
Yep.
sitting somebody. If you got 18 points on Thursday or Friday night, you're going in my lineup. So uh, on the off chance that happens, that's what I usually like to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, basically in and you pretty much mentioned it in NFC, in these high stakes competitions, you can still draft towards this in this overall competition after the Thursday and Friday games. There will be drafts all the way up until probably Sunday morning before kickoff. So anyone on Baltimore and Kansas City or Green Bay, Philadelphia, you would know in advance of of the lineups deadline whether you would be starting them or not. So yeah, that's a really, really good point. All right, I'm on the clock. I'm looking at running backs. So if I have Isaiah Pacheco, does it just make sense for me to handcuff him with CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't hate it.
I'm looking at him. I think maybe if there's a little bit of a dip now on Jordan Mason, I don't mind it. So hip
Oh,
soreness, not
Mason's
super
still
worried about it.
available?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of a
Mason's the
no-brainer.
pick.
Yeah, and Elijah Mitchell went like 5-6 rounds ago, so or 3-4 rounds ago, so it makes sense. Okay, all right. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 receivers. I'm sorry, running backs. I got 4 more picks to make. One has to be a defense. One has to be a kicker. One will be a tight end, and then I'll have a running. I'll just get one more running back. So I'll add a few guys into my queue here.
Yep.
But you did. By the way, when I mentioned Juwan Johnson, you didn't say anything about it afterwards. How do you feel about taking somebody that's hurt right now?
Uh, I honestly don't want to live in that territory. So um, I usually have tight end, figured out by then. So that,
Well, as my backup.
yeah, I mean, even as my backup, at that point, I'm going naked. Like I'm not
Mm,
taking a backup tight end. Like to me, I look at like a Jawan Johnson, like it. I'm just wasting a roster spot. I rather take like some backup running back and take
mm.
a shot that, starter gets hurt or whatever, and I get lucky.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, any reason to just pop Cincinnati here? They get the Patriots
Against the
week 1.
Patriots, yeah, I
Yeah,
like it. Yep.
yeah. They get the Patriots. After that, it's going to be a drop, or I'll get a second one. But then they get Kansas City, so that is going to be a not play. So yeah, all right. Let's grab the Bengals here. At this point, we'll just take you through the draft. I mean, if you're up this late and you don't mind, I mean, we're almost there. You can always tell me to, screw off and that you got to go to sleep. But
We
I've
got
never
any
seen you pass
action
up
in the
a.
chat? Is there any guys in the
It's
chat with any questions or
yeah, it's quieted
comments?
down a little bit. It's really late on the East Coast, and some people will be
Yeah.
watching this in the middle of the day tomorrow. But Rob told me to. I don't know what part of the conversation we're in when he said to get some Pepto Bismol, but that's funny. Probably indigestion from looking at one of the teams that was not Team 9. All right. Eagles. So you see the purple stickers there. Those are the team kickers. So the way NFC plays it is you just do not have to worry about picking up individual kickers. You just get the whole team, and whoever's the kicker there, you just get all their points. So that's that. As far as and usually is usually is the case, like Justin Tucker is always going a couple rounds ahead of everybody else. Obviously, Brandon Aubrey has joined that. Brandon Aubrey was insane last season, led the league in 50 plus yard field goals, and yeah, Dallas was just like a kicking machine last year, and pretty impressive for a rookie there. But again, that's now has been more kicker talk than anybody has been wanting here. Let's get back to the the nitty gritty
Yeah.
here. Tyler Boyd, is there?
Nah.
Just feels like just like a name. I don't know. I feel like I would never play him or start him. I think dude averages like 2.5 touchdowns a season.
Just a guy.
Yeah, just a guy. The backfield in Green Bay. How do you see that shaping up as far as value behind Josh Jacobs, and what are the chances that Marshawn Lloyd or AJ Dillon mix in a little bit, or is it going to be very heavy Josh Jacobs?
I think that I like Lloyd. I like his talent. AJ Dillon, I don't think is very good. But for whatever reason, they involve him and give him touches every week. So I'd probably say with Lloyd having the injury, he's a little bit behind. So Dylan's probably going to be involved.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. Like this coaching staff has never had like a bell cow running back. They never gave Aaron Jones like a big workload.
Yeah.
So I don't expect that to happen with Jacobs. Um, so I expect Dylan to be involved until Lloyd can get up to speed.
Got a question here. Favorite RB2s when going hero RB. So does
Yeah,
that
so
mean? Go ahead.
yeah, so let's say you take like Bijan or Brees Hall, someone like that, and then you take all, your receivers, your quarterback, your tight end, and you just punt back your RB2. I'm probably looking in that seventh, eighth round range um, for running backs. So I'd be looking at like, you know, Pollard, Chase Brown, Tajay Spears, um, Ryan Robinson,
Mm,
uh, you know, Najee Harris, but he's going to move up
mm,
now with the Warren injury. Um, Javante Williams. So those would be kind of like my
yeah.
my targets.
Yeah, you told me this time last year. I remember on the phone with you, arguing with you, not violent altercation or anything, but like I was really stating
I
my
think you
case for
raised your voice though.
Javante. I
You
did.
raised
I
your voice
said,
to me.
Javante, you don't understand, Nelson. You're missing out.
Yeah.
Fadeless is going to be wrong. Well, I was wrong. But this year, we're in.
We're in. We're in on Javante. Yeah.
All right, I'm coming up here on the clock. I'm going to let's see. You kind of talked me out of not going Jawan Johnson, so there's still a couple of guys. I don't really care about the second tight end. I could, punt it if need be. I'm going to take another running back and a kicker. I don't mind with the last pick because I can do a little kicker whispering. But running back wise, I'm looking at either just I guess you can call it a handcuff. Clyde Edwards-Helaire there for Pacheco. I think that probably makes some sense. You got Kenneth Gainwell, who, if I add, I would probably drop. I feel like in week 2, and so I feel like almost like a wasted pick unless there's like a Barkley preseason injury. He obviously would catch a healthy set of balls. Not in that way, people. Dylan Lobb, am I pronouncing it correctly? Am I butchering
Yeah.
name?
Um, None of those guys really excite me. Um, I'd I'd probably push it back. Take your kicker here. Get one part of a good offense, good kicker. You got you got the
I
Falcons
like.
kicker available.
I've already, yeah, that's true. And they get Pittsburgh at home. I actually don't mind that. I like Young Huku. I'm going to go with that. Let's go. All right, that works.
Yeah.
By the way, other matchups that I think are decent for the kickers. I think the Houston Indy game, also in the dome with Kaimi Fairbairn and Matt Gay. I think those are a couple of good ones. Again, I'm going on this kicker thing. People are not going to tune in and listen to kicker analysis. All right.
They're going to be
Well,
like, oh, fuck, I stayed till the end and all Vlad's
that's
talking about
true.
is kickers.
I started talking about it 20 minutes ago. So yeah, I mean, sorry, people, sorry. The rookie Ben Sinnott on Washington. I feel like he's probably a little bit of a project in the making, but any hope for him as somebody we can have as a second tight end?
Yeah, like I said, at that point, if put it this way, this is how I look at it. If Kincaid does not get hurt, at no point in time are you going to play any of these guys that you mentioned.
Yep.
So I look at it as if Kincaid did get hurt,
I
hopefully
want
not,
Knox.
you want Knox.
Yeah, 100% right. Makes sense. I remember the slick move you guys did with your teams that the last final week of Fab before you went into the playoffs with Lamar Jackson. everybody just, I mean, you and a couple other people grabbed Tyler Huntley, just at pure genius, right? Because if Lamar goes down, you have a huge drop off to your second quarterback, whoever that is on your team. But if something happened to Lamar, you got the guy that steps into him, and behind him, it can actually perform as well.
Yeah,
Old,
there's some strategy involved with that where you look at it as like you're gonna carry like this like fringe QB2, and it's like, well, if my here you're on the clock, so focus on that, and then we'll talk
yeah.
about it.
Oh, I
Take
already
take
have my kicker and defense. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
take
yeah,
Knox just in case somebody's listening and they snipe me.
yeah, go for it.
Um, but I'm gonna also, as we get close to it, if he's not taken, I'm gonna make a case for somebody I want with my 20th pick that is not a running back.
Oh, geez. Okay.
You already don't like it, I know.
I already don't like it. What do you got? Six running backs? You need at least seven.
Do I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I do only have 6. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. All right. Well, let's give a free pick. I mean, let me just tell you that
Yeah.
since I won't draft them anyways, I told you about this for the show. I have very few players that I have a strong gut feeling on this year, at least compared to past years. Past years, I've got 20 guys I have to draft. I have a smaller list this year, but one of those guys, and it'll be ironic if I don't draft them, but it's Jalen Tolbert. Like what's going on that the dude is still sitting there on the board? You've got CeeDee Lamb unsigned. You've got Brandon Cooks old and hurt, and probably get hurt again. And Dusty Zeke. There's no one else. And Jalen Tolbert's looked really good towards the second half of last season and in preseason so far. Like he's just somebody I could see just kind of shooting up the board and being an expensive fab guy after the first couple of weeks of the season.
No, I like that thought. If you really wanted, if you really wanted to take him, that's fine.
No, I need a running back.
I guess I guess it would be like I would almost like trade off like Tolbert and Polk, and I would have taken
True.
Tolbert like earlier.
West Coast. Let's go. Sorry, Nelson. I know you're in the East Coast. All right. So final running back pick. I'm looking at CH. I'm looking at Deneric Prince. Is he even going to be in the mix at any
He's been
point?
getting run with the ones, but it also, I think, has something to do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire being hurt. So who really knows
Yeah.
what happens there if like something happened with Pacheco?
And I did see CH. He's been, so I thought he was hurt, but it turns out he's like just sick. He's got an illness. So he's supposed to be back at practice on Monday.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It feels like good safety. I might as well have been taking some risks here. I feel like it makes sense to just grab the guy that I guess would be the one getting work. The alternative though is, does it make sense to grab my week 2 defense so that you could just set it and forget it? Because let me just tell you this real quick. Because like I said, Cincinnati, who I have now, after week 1, they get Kansas City. I'm not going to play that. And instead of having to pay up, Pittsburgh's there. They're going to get Denver in week 2 and the Chargers in week 3. Is it worth that enough? Is that worth it to pass up on CH?
I, I don't know. I almost feel like I would want to do that in Fab, like right before the season started. I, I just don't. I don't like using up 2 roster spots on a
Yeah.
defense or a kicker when I just want to have that potential of a handcuff running back that
Mm.
gets pushed into a starting role because something happened, to the starter, got
Yep.
nicked up in practice or in week 3 preseason, whatever. It
Mm.
it
No,
can
makes
happen.
sense.
So I just want to have those outs.
All right, I'm gonna make my pick. Before I do, like it's like the names of the past, but it's not really that much of a past. These are all like fab targets, performers the last couple of years. These are guys currently being not drafted. Jamal Williams, Dalvin Cook. I don't even know what he's up to. Michael Carter. Remember Evan Hull? We loved Evan Hull. He's still kind of in the mix. Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn had a little thing going on this time last year. Kareem Hunt. Don't know where he is. Cordero Patterson. Isaiah Spiller. Oh, Cam Akers. I bet you Cam Akers. I know we've talked about this in the past. At some point, Cam Akers, I think it could be better than Dameon Pierce.
You're on the clock, by the way.
I know. I'm just,
Okay.
All right.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to mix your pick.
Yeah. Just making a show. Well, there it is. I don't even have the board scrolled, so people can't even see what's going on. My apologies. All right. There it is. Look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's even popping off the page. How do you like that?
Yeah.
That's a sign. Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here. Nelson, really appreciate you. Hope everything is safe and good and internet and power and everything is back on there at home.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
Nelson Sousa at the franchise underscore at the franchise underscore 12. Vlad Sedler at RotoGut, NFC Live Draft, FTN Fantasy. We appreciate it. And we'll catch you at Nelson's next live stream. Talk to you later.